question because I said earlier today, we're gonna do a talk, a workshop, or what? You guys remember?
Workshop.
Workshop, thank you. Workshop means we're gonna be working. You have your phone out, which is perfect. We're gonna actually need to do things. So the first thing I'll ask you to do, get a little bit here.
Yeah, you're good now.
I have to stay in the shot. The first thing I'm gonna ask you to do is sit in a small circle and sit together, because we're gonna be working together in a small group, and we're gonna take notes, and we're gonna take something home with us today so that we actually can benefit. So we have 1, 2, 3, we can do 2 groups on the other side. I think we do roughly 4 each. So a group of 4 here, a group of 4 there. We're gonna sit in a circle, inshallah, and then the sisters can do 2 groups of 3, or you can do a group of 6, whatever you feel comfortable with. But we're gonna get up for a moment and do that. So I politely ask you to do that. You can sit close, don't worry. Oh, never mind. Don't sit too close. I know. Let's do 2 groups on the brother side. And the sister side can do 1 group within them. Okay, now the first thing I want you guys to do is get a little bit comfortable with each other. So I'm going to ask you a question. That question is that I want you in your groups. Are we 2 groups of 3 here? Or 1 group of 6? 1 group of 6, perfect. What I want you to do is I want you to find one thing that you all have in common with your group, but it can't be your deen, can't be we're all Muslims, can't be your gender, we're all men, we're all women. It can't be anything based on your appearance. So it has to be something deeper, an interest, a hobby, a passion, something that all 6 of you have in common. All 6 of you have in common, and I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to do that. So go ahead and find something you all have in common. And I'm going to ask you to share. Nothing obvious. No appearance. We ready to share? Yeah? We start with those sisters? I'm sorry? Travel? Okay, you guys all like travel? Are you sure? You just said something quick. Okay, then let's share. Where's the most exotic place you've traveled? Anyone, just share. Mecca? Okay, that's pretty exotic. What else? Istanbul? Colombia? Okay. I'm sorry? Thailand? Mecca? Australia? Okay, that's probably the farthest. Okay, what about, we'll call you men's group 1. What do you guys all have in common? You came here for your Isha? Allah SWT accepted them. So basically, it's as if you prayed all night, every single night in the masjid. Allah SWT accepted. I heard them talking about sports. But I guess they couldn't agree on which sport they all do.
No, that's in the backside.
In the past. Hey, and group number 2 of the men? Travel? Y'all just heard their response. For sure? Okay, it was the most exotic place you traveled. Switzerland? Okay, that's pretty cool. Nepal and Iraq? Very cool. Are you from any of those 2 countries? Oh, what? You're from Pakistan. Traveled there for work? Or just for work? Very cool. Very cool. What else? Reading? No, where else did you travel? UK? They said they like to travel, but then they'll leave you, oh, they're stubborn. Hey, no problem. Okay. Did you guys, who introduced themselves to their team? Okay, good, good. Okay, you guys all know each other? Yeah. If you're coming to Fajr every day. Hopefully. Oh, back in the day. Hopefully you know each other. Okay, when we spoke about the khutbah today, what I had told us was that, if you guys remember, I said the hadith of Umar radiallahu ta'ala. I repeated that over and over and over again. I said, Hasibu anfusakum qabla an tuhasabu. This is Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu's line. And this is the focus of today. He said, take account for yourself before you are taken account for. I don't know how many times, and I'm guilty first. I started to plan my Ramadan only 2 or 3 years ago. Before that, I had this lofty idea of what I was going to be. I never made goals, and in the rare time I did, it would be some crazy goal that I really had a chance of accomplishing, and I would fail over and over again. When I learned how to make goals better, I'll tell you, I don't like to tell people what I do, but I'll tell you one thing, that why I'm such a big believer in this process. For maybe 10 plus years, I had a goal of reading Quran every single day. And my goal was all I said to myself was, I just need to read any amount, and that was my goal. And I could not do it for 10 years. Like, I would obviously not never read Quran, but I would do a couple of days, and then I would fall short. And then finally, one time, 3 Ramadans ago, I was concerted about it. I started to put more metrics behind it. I built accountability around it. I asked my family to keep me accountable. We participated in a game, and alhamdulillah, since then, it has finally become a habit in my life. Because I started to say, I'm going to be more proactive about my things. I don't want us to come on the day of judgment with thinking, man, we never took account for ourselves. Today's purpose is just, we're going to leave today on our phone or in a notebook 5 or 10 goals that we have for our Ramadan, so that we can, inshallah, try our best to achieve those. Is that a fair goal? Do I have everyone who's going to participate, inshallah? Raise your hand if you're going to participate. Exactly. Okay, the second thing is we're going to start with a mission statement. Who has a mission statement? Who's made one before? Who knows what a mission statement is? Okay, if you've ever seen, most businesses have mission statements. Starbucks, Dell, almost all of them, when they start their company, they have some sort of mission statement. A few years ago, when I started my MBA, they asked me to write a mission statement, and I thought it was such a futile experience, because I was just, why would we do this? Why would I need a mission statement? But I'll tell you, when I started this, when I found my own mission statement, it was not exactly what MBA, it was 2 programs I was doing simultaneously, but I found it to be one of the most profound experiences in my life. I started to realize, oh, there is something I'm working towards, and it allowed for all of the actions I take, to the best of my ability, to line up with some greater value. So we're going to first start today by creating a mission statement. If we're trying to grow, we want to know who we want to be in the future. So our mission statement, and you can adjust it later, but individually we're going to make a mission statement, and it's going to follow this format, okay? You're going to say, as a blank. There you fill in a role. As a husband, as a wife, as a Muslim, as a Muslimah, as a servant, as a worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as a community member, as a husband, a father, a brother, and a son. You can put what you want in there, but there you're thinking about, how do I define myself? What are the qualities that I assume as a part of my identity? Okay, so we're going to take it piece by piece. So we'll start here. I'll give you guys about a minute to think about how do you define yourself, and just that first part. As a blank at my highest and best. Go ahead and take a minute. And if those who are on Zoom, I urge you to do the same for yourself. This is like a running joke I'm sure you've heard before, but no one gets healthy or stronger by watching gym videos. If you're watching this just to watch it, I guarantee you will get almost no benefit. If you do the exercises yourself, as simple as they are, Allah Alam, but we hope that will benefit a lot. So if you're watching this on Zoom, try to do it yourself. So, brother came here with a notebook. I'm very impressed. He was ready. We're sitting in small groups, so feel comfortable to sit down. She's at 9:15. Okay, who's ready to share? Go ahead, sister. What's your name? Sister Fatma, go ahead and share. Sister Fatma's it. Sister, I only know the first part, but that's okay. We're going to go through the rest in a moment, but you should put ambitious in your values, because we're only doing the first part. Sister Fatma said, she said, as a mother and a grandmother at her highest and best. The Muslim, you want to share? As a Muslim, as my highest and best. He finds himself as someone who submits to Allah. Let's preserve that. Anyone else in this group? What is your name again? I'm sorry? Zaidi? Go ahead. As Abdullah at my highest and best. We'll get to the rest of the show in just a moment. Anyone from this group? No? As a Khalifa and servant of Allah at my highest and best. Okay, Jazakallah khair. The second part is I and some action. I serve, I act, I teach, I do. This is something that is, like I'm saying to the people on Zoom, it's more than just you're something. You have to define your life by some sort of action. Okay? So I'll give you guys another 30 seconds, and I'm going to have someone else share, who didn't share last time. Add some ways you want to do something. You want to teach, you want to volunteer, you want to parent. Whatever you want your action in your life to be defined by. Sure, whoever has just come, if you guys feel comfortable, if you want to make another group just right there, I think there are 3 or 4 of you. So you have the back over here. I action something. Any action that you want your life to be defined by. You should choose some sort of action that you want your life to be defined by. People are teachers, their parents, they act. They can be general, they can be specific, but you want more than your identity. You're a Muslim who does what? Some action will. I serve. And then while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and skip to the next part, which is with certain qualities. And I'll help you here. Okay? I want you to think about your values. This was the other exercise we did. Now, there are an infinite number of values. We have a laundry list of them here to help you get started. But your values can be everything you want. Anything that really speaks out to you. Now, taqwa is not on you. I don't want you to put taqwa as your value. Taqwa is all of our value, and it should be manifest in all of our lives, in all aspects of our life. To say taqwa is not clear enough. You need something that's more concrete. So I want you to pick 3 words here that are what you want to aspire to. If you want to be someone courageous, you put that with courage. If you value compassion, you put that. If you value integrity, you put that. You're trying to choose 3 or 4 words that most speak out to you. And I'll ask you to share. You can choose none of those as well. But be specific. That's why I asked. Don't say something general. And I'll let you guys see it. I can go back in just one moment. I will share mine with you guys. I said servant. As a servant at my highest and best, my action was with act, because I wanted to be a part of all aspects of my life. I act with, and the values that I had before: integrity, compassion, passion, and excellence. These were the 4 things that stood out to me. Sure. While you're filling this out, I'll give you guys value is such an interesting word because it is the middle, the beginning, and the end. If someone asks you what a value is, the question, what are your values? What you want to think about is if everything else was stripped away from you. If you were robbed of everything at your essence, how would you describe yourself? But it's not only your beginning, it's also your end. If integrity is what I hope to be, and it's what I define at my essence, it's also what I'm hoping to strive for. And I'm working my entire life to try to be someone in integrity. And then as I'm living my life, anytime I make a decision, I ask myself, am I acting with integrity? Knowing your values is actually a very beautiful thing. Who's ready to share? You can just share your values. I just want you to share your 3 or 4 values. Go ahead, what's your name again, brother? Brother Abbas, right? Yes, go ahead, Brother Abbas. Generosity, humility, and commitment. Okay, inshallah, I'll remember that, but I might forget and I might ask you again. Someone else. What's your brother? Trust, honesty, integrity. All 3 of those are similar. You probably always tell the truth unless someone present. What's your name? Luis? Anyone else? Go ahead. Sure. Mission focus, accountability, and integrity. The word the person used, intention. Okay, then. One word encapsulates a very profound concept for Badr Hazim. Any of the sisters? Some of the sisters. What is your name, sister? I'm sorry? Mahjabeen? Go ahead, what are your values? An embodiment of the 3 qualities of sabr. Sabr, trust, and understanding. Thank you so much, sister. Anyone else on the sister side? One more sister. Go ahead, what's your name, sister? Nura, sister Nura, go ahead. Enthusiasm, ambition, and cooperation. Is that right? I want you to answer this question now. Did anyone's qualities sound bad? Did anyone say, you know what, I value lying? Did anyone say that? Did anyone say, I value stealing? I value corruption. I value dishonesty. I value cruelty. Did anyone say those answers? Okay, that's the first question. Second question, did any of you say the same 3 words as someone else? No. Third question, would you say your values are better than Brother Abbas's? No. Sister Nura, would you say your values are better than Brother Muslim's? No, I don't think you would either. But would you say your values are really important to you and they define who you are? And do you think you can find an ayah of the Quran or a hadith or a name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that exemplifies your values? Yes, yeah? What about you, Brother Abbas? What about you, Brother Yunus? Definitely, right? None of us think we're better than anyone else. The whole thing I'm starting this part about is because I want to stress one thing. When we're entering Ramadan, and when we want to leave Ramadan, for sure, there's certain things we should all do. We should increase our level of Quran, and we'll talk about a smart goal there. We should increase the amount of dua we make, and we'll talk about a smart goal there. We should increase the amount we pray and the amount of khushu we have, and we'll talk about a smart goal there as well. But the part that's unique to yourself are these values. If you come to the masjid and you embody someone else's values and you try your hardest to be someone else, you will never own it in the way you can own your values. But your values will come to change. How many different ways are there to change? Thousands, millions. There's so many ahadith where Prophet ﷺ says, a person who does this small thing, they get Jannah. A person who does that small thing, they get to Jannah. A person who does something else, they get to Jannah. A person who says, La ilaha illallah, they get to Jannah. Your growth plan is going to be different from everyone else's growth plan. And if you are trying to be someone else, you will fail. But if you embrace who you are, and you recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you uniquely, and He gave you values, and you need to grow in your values, not only will it be easy for you, because you're living true to who you are, you will end up at the end of the month way better than you should imagine. As we are setting our SMART goals, I want you to think about how did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create me? Brother Abbas said, what were your 3 again, Brother Abbas? Your values. Generosity, humility, and commitment. We'll take generosity here for a moment. I imagine Brother Abbas is going to be thinking about, one of my Ramadan goals has to be about generosity. How am I going to exemplify that? Does that look like I'm going to give $1 a day? Does that look like I'm going to give $5 a week? I don't know. That's between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his goal. But that is something I imagine he's going to exemplify. Sister Nura said sabr. That's a hard one. She's going to have to think abstractly. She's going to have to say, what does it mean to be someone? Maybe, and I don't know if this is her case, maybe she has brothers, maybe she has children, I don't know, but she has to think, when someone cuts me off in traffic, I'm going to hold my tongue. I'm not going to curse, I'm going to say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Set SMART goals around your life. Do we understand that, inshallah? We're on the same page, inshallah? Yes, yes, yes? I need verbal. We're in the exit row in a plane. I need verbal yeses. Yes, okay, okay. Now let's start setting some SMART goals based on this, and we'll come back to impact in a minute. Okay, we'll come back to impact at the end. Okay, we have SMART goals. Who can tell me what SMART goals stand for? Who can tell me what the S stands for? Specific. Specific. Someone give me an example of a specific versus a vague goal. I'll give you a vague goal. I'm going to be more generous this Ramadan. How do we make that specific? I'm going to give $1 a day. Okay? I'm going to have more integrity this Ramadan. Is that specific or vague? Vague. How do we make that specific? Let's go a little bit better. Here's an example. Whenever I come across a moment of doubt or ambiguity, like when I'm calling on the phone and they're asking me something, and I know that if I just do a little white lie, I can get away with something and return this Amazon product. And they say, why are you returning it? It's not broken, but if I say it's broken because it fits my requirements, I'm going to take that moment. Whenever I come across a moment that I want to gain something, I'm going to take the higher standard and speak truth to one another. That's an example of something specific. You have to present yourself with a situation that you're going to overcome to exemplify your value. But we're going to start with 4 things and then we'll come to that. Okay, the first thing I want you guys to all come up with now is I want you to come up with a specific dhikr goal. A specific dhikr goal. I want you to assess today how much dhikr do you do in a day, and then tie a goal to it. I will ask you to share. I won't ask everyone to share because I understand it's private, but I will ask you to share. So write that down. What is your specific dhikr goal? Brother Muhsin asked a beautiful question. He said, there are many definitions of dhikr. What dhikr am I talking about? What dhikr are you imagining? Reading Quran is also dhikr. What else? Tasbihat. What else? Salah is also part of dhikr. We're going to come to Salah and Quran, so let's stick to tasbihat. A lot of people looking at me. This one you got it? Inshallah. Yeah? Do you want to share? No? Okay. Does anyone want to share? Go ahead. Focus on 10 minutes of dhikr every day. Is that specific? Yes. Let's go to the M. What does the M stand for? Measurable. Is that measurable? How is it measurable? 10 minutes. What's the A? Attainable. We can do that too. Now, I'm not going to ask Brother Yunus whether that's attainable for him, but I want him to think about it. Is that attainable? If I never do dhikr at all, I imagine 10 minutes a day would be tough for me. So I'm going to adjust it. I'll say, I never do dhikr, but I only do dhikr on Fridays. Maybe I'll do 3 minutes. And that's okay. Okay, what's the R? Relevant. Realistic is attainable. Relevant means, inshallah, all of our goals are relevant. We don't have to worry about that here because I'm forcing this. It's definitely relevant for his life and our life to have more dhikr in our life. And then time-based. This is the one I want us to think about for a moment. What does time-based mean here? He said that I want to do 10 minutes of dhikr every day. I'm going to ask you guys to do 3 levels of goals. I want you to do a goal for your first 10 days. I want you to do a goal for your second 10 days. And I want you to do a goal for your third 10 days. And build up to the hardest one. I would say if I did 0 dhikr a day, or if I did dhikr on and off, I would say the first 10 days, I'm going to do 3 minutes of dhikr. The second 10 days, I'm going to work my way up to 5 minutes. And I will adjust in the middle. And in the last 10 days, I'm going to go hard and I'm going to say maybe 10 minutes. Does that make sense? We're all on the same page? Sure. Time-based is the thing that I want us to think about at this last part. Instead of saying my number 1 goal is to do 10 minutes of dhikr a day, I'm going to change that to say in the first 10 days, my goal is 3 minutes a day. In the second 10 days, it's 5 minutes a day. In the third 10 days, it's going to be 10 minutes a day. I'm going to build up to that higher goal. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So Brother Zaidi said that instead of doing time for him, he's going to do number. Is number specific? Yes. Is it measurable? Yes. Is it attainable? Yes. So no problem. If you're time-based, that's up to you. If you say I'm going to do 33, 33, 33, that's up to you. Okay, the second goal we're gonna have here now is our salah goal. Okay, our salah goal. Same thing. If I pray all of my sunan, then I'm gonna say after Isha, I'm going to read 2 extra salatul tahajjud. If I don't pray my sunnah, if I don't pray my fard, don't come here thinking that, oh, this Ramadan, I'm going to do it all. I know that ambition feels good, but it sets us up for failure. And then when you fail one day, you fail 3 days, and you fail 5 days, you lose the motivation, and you quit. We want to build momentum. So what is your salah goal? Think about that. Just to let you guys know, inshallah, we're going to come up with 8 goals, at least 8 goals. So we're on goal 2. I'm going to ask one of the sisters to share this time. Okay, who's ready to share? You're still typing? That's good. Sisters aren't typing right now. That's okay. Is any of the sisters willing to share? Sure, go ahead. To read all of my sunnah salah. How many? What? She's counting. 10. Okay, she's going to read 10 sunnah salah. She says all, as long as she knows what all means to her, that's good. So she has 10 sunnah salah on a daily basis. Okay, that's her salah. What about someone else? Any of the brothers? Brother Ahmed, Brother Abdullah, maybe? Go ahead. What's your name? I'm sorry? Sadiq? Sadiq, go ahead, Brother Sadiq. He'll do full tarawih, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in all of your goals. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in your goals and make it easy for you. Okay. Good, good. Anyone else? For the Muslim? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said he's going to do all the sunnah the first 10 days. He's going to do all the nawafil on the second 10 days. And he's going to tahajjud on the third 10 days. Gosh, imagine if Brother Muhsin could do that. Imagine if Brother Sadiq could do that. Again, we share with Brother Muhsin. I don't know if you do that right now, but with Allah, I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts barakah in that for you so that you can achieve it. Anyone else? Yes, Brother Adam. Sure. Yes. Brother Adnan asked a beautiful question. I was actually going to give my example. Khushu is a struggle for me. He said, how do I make Khushu a specific goal? I'll tell you what I did because I had the same question for myself. This was, I think, 2 years ago. It might not make sense to you, but it's specific enough for me. What I said to myself was, if I ever end up in a stage of the salah and I forgot how I got there, I have to read it. So for fun, I was lenient on myself and I said, I'm going to do something. I won't make that standard for something. So I'll give you an example. I don't know if it happens to you, but it definitely happens to me. I'm praying, and then 2 minutes later, I'm in sujood. And I'm like, how did I get here? I don't remember any of the steps in between. That was my measure of khushu. So if I ended up in any stage of the salah and I forgot how I got there, I said I had to read it. But I was lenient on myself that I said if I forgot, like, I'll give you an example, and again, we're being specific. If I'm reading Surah Fatiha, and then I end up in Surah Ikhlas, and I forget how I got there, I didn't redo it, I just started back while I'm in my salah, because I said I didn't change my stage. But that's how I help myself with khushu. Yes, there's something. Yeah, with us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you next. I'm sure it's something we all struggle with. But Salih says any recommendation when he has a lot of things on his mind, how to maintain this for sure and so on. I will open it up to anyone to give their advice. I'll give a piece of advice for myself that helped me. I don't say work because it's a constant struggle. Does anyone have any advice for Brother Salih on how they try to maintain for sure and so on? Yeah.
One thought I had is to prepare ahead and recite, learn, memorize some part of Quran that you may not know well or may have forgotten that you memorize sometime back. Try to recite that. When you recite something with full focus because you're trying to recollect and recite it correctly, it's not Surah Fatiha. That helps you kind of stay in it and not just I'm just getting full of
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very good advice. Uncle Amr said, instead of reading a surah that you're very familiar with so you can be on autopilot, try to do something that you know that you got to think to get through. That's one piece of advice, helps. Anything else? Yeah, Brother Boss? Sure, yeah, no problem. Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Brother Abbas said two pieces of advice, and those were the two I was going to give actually, and I appreciate you validating that this works for you. He said, one, we come to Salah and we don't think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is listening. It is an abstract thing. I get it. You're coming to a place, you stand there all the time, and you're not really thinking that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is answering you, but I think you're referencing Hadith Qudsi. There's a Hadith Qudsi where the Prophet talks about when the Abd, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very beautiful. I don't have all of it memorized. I'll share it with you afterwards. But the hadith where the Prophet talks about the experience between the Abd and the Rabb when they're reading Surah Fatiha. Allah says, the Prophet says that when the slave says, Alhamdulillah, Allah responds, Allah responds, my slave has praised me. And it's so beautiful, the language, if you know the Arabic, says, Hamadani Abdi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has Abdi. This is a little bit grammatical, so if I lost you, forgive me. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the singular pronoun, where Allah, me, my slave, as opposed to our slave. But when you read the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala often uses our. The change, one of the effects is that it's so intimate. That when you're talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking that moment so seriously that He has an individual connection with you. And then you say, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds, and so on and so forth. Every time you read a verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds. And that hadith will also give you the translation. The third piece, and we'll move on, is the recommendation is about time. A lot of times when we come to pray, we say, it's helped me, but I struggle. I just gotta quickly do it, 4 hours, 4 minutes. If I make my mind up that I'm gonna spend 10 minutes in this, and while I'm reading it, I feel more comfortable just to take my time. And even if you come to it before and sit for a minute or two, you kind of come to that pause, that internal peace. It makes whatever you're about to do easier. But there's no one solution. Okay, how many goals we have? We have a bigger goal. We have a salah goal. We're going to move a little bit quicker because I have to get to a few more goals in 7 minutes. Okay, what I want you to do is a Quran goal and a dua goal. So a Quran goal and a dua goal. While you're doing this, let's try to do it a little bit quickly, but I'll remind you, if you don't read Quran at all right now, don't say you're going to read a juz a day. It's really aspirational. Even if you do it, you're not going to be able to keep it up forever. Do 5 pages a day, do a page a day. Do something that you can continuously do forever. Inshallah. So your Quran goal and your dua goal. Dua goal here, and I'll clarify while we're talking, then we'll move on to the next one. A dua goal here means any way you talk to Allah. The beauty of dua is any connection you want with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It can be as simple as telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala how your day was, or it can be as complex as knowing all of the dua in the Quran that are in Arabic and knowing the English. Wherever you find yourself, that's okay. But this one I would recommend at time. I would say you force yourself for the first 10 minutes, and no matter what, at the end of my day, I'm going to spend 3 minutes of focused dua. Focused dua means you pause, you sit, you reflect. Not, I'm driving and I'm just making dua. Those are good too, but it's not what I'm asking for today. So salat go, I'm sorry, dua go, and Quran go. Dua go, and Quran go. I'll give you guys a minute to do that. Yes. And while you guys are typing, here's where things get tough. Here's where things get tough. I gave you 4 categories. I made 4 categories: Quran, dua, salah, and dhikr. We have to have these 4 in our life, and we have to include them in Ramadan. The 3 categories are up to you. What should they follow? They should follow your values. If your value is integrity, I want you to think about, who do I want to be at the end of Ramadan? And how do I gauge how to get there? You really have to be thoughtful. What does it mean to be solid? When have I not been solid? When have I had a struggle in being patient? How am I going to change that this Ramadan? If it's generosity, how am I going to change that? How am I going to test myself? How am I going to grow? The question you're going to ask yourself is, who do you want to be at the end of Ramadan? Who do you want to be at the end of Ramadan? Not, listen, I'll say this. Ramadan is not only, it is not only a buffet of good deeds. It shouldn't just be, let me do as much as I can to get as much as good deeds as I can, and then after it be nothing. You want to think about how can you grow. Give your buffet of good deeds, but also how can I grow. So think about, who do I want to be at the end of Ramadan? I'm going to ask you to share these. The Quran goal and the dua goal, I'll leave by you. I think you understand the idea. And I want you to share these. So I'll ask you to share. So I'll give you guys 3 minutes to come up with a goal for each of these categories. We can work through them a little bit together. Brother Muhsin, what are your values again? Compassion. Brother Muhsin's, one of his values is compassion. May I ask you, how do you want to exemplify that quality? What does it mean to be compassionate to you? Okay, Brother Muhsin got very specific answer. I love it. Jazakallah for sharing. We'll come right back in a moment. He said he wants to be more compassionate. He thought to himself, okay, where is a place that he doesn't feel that he's exemplifying this quality? Where is a place where I'm not exemplifying this quality as best as I could? He said, new refugees. Maybe he has a category where I meet the marks in other places, but I could do more for refugees. Perfect. That's who he wants to be at the end of the moment. Now, how does he get there? Do you have some things written on it, or still working on it? I'm working on it. He's working on it. Maybe we can help him? But maybe it's, once a week, once in the 10 days, 3 times in the 10 days. I'm going to go volunteer. I'm going to give some money, and I'm going to call one of my friends who happens to be a refugee. I don't know. Those are his goals. But he's working towards his end. And then in the second days, 10 days, he'll make it a little bit tougher. He'll push himself. Is that what kind of change? Someone else remind me one of their values. Okay, go ahead, go on.
Service to community.
Service to community, that's one of his values. What does that mean to you?
So my goal is to spend at least 5 hours a week in serving, be in masjid, be in cemetery, wherever, and then up it in the next 10 days. And my goal is like 5, 7, 10 hours a week.
Okay. He said his value is service to the community. He said the first week, first 10 days, he's going to spend 5 a week, 5 hours in service to the community. And he's also even put some examples, either at the masjid or at the cemetery. Now, 5 hours a week, is that specific? Yes. Is that measurable? Is that attainable? Hopefully it's attainable. Is it relevant? It's relevant for his life because it's related to his value. And is it time-based? Yes. Now he knows when he puts this on his fridge, he's going to start marking off. Yes, this time I did 7 hours. And then he's going to think before he comes to the second 7 days, 10 days, you know what? I said 7 in the beginning, but I think I can do 10. So he's going to put 10. If he doesn't make it, is he going to beat himself up? Is he going to call himself a failure? No. He's going to say, I didn't make it, so maybe I'll adjust my second 10 days. The goal here is slow and steady growth. Okay? One more. Come on, sisters. Come on, some sisters. Give me one of their values. I know a lot of their names now. I don't want to call you all. Another brother? Okay, go ahead. Intention? I'm sorry, you need to be a little bit louder. Focus on the methods. Okay? Okay. Okay. So I was going to say it's a little vague. Okay, so he said, can I say it louder, please? Listen, that was good. He said that he's going to be intentional on his methods, and whatever the outcome, he's going to trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I was going to tell him, well, we need something a bit more specific. How will you test if you've done it? Will you ask yourself this question 5 times a day? Will you ask yourself this question 10 times a day? Because we're doing things all the time. We're going to be specific. He said, anytime there's food on the table, he's going to take it, he's going to eat it, he's not going to complain about it. That's specific enough for me. Okay. All right. I'm going to close, inshallah, on 2 things. The last part is going to be up to you guys to discuss, but I don't want you to leave without doing that last part. Now, if you remember, I said there are 3 ways to grow. There are 3 ways to grow. Outside of these 3 ways, pretty much you can't. Okay? Epiphanies is number 1. We put Quran, dhikr, salah, and dua go. We hope, we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the epiphanies. That part, inshallah, is coming. The second thing we said is, the most beloved actions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the ones that are consistent, even if they're small. I'm hoping the goals you set for yourself are attainable. Goals you can knock out the park. I'll tell you, it's better if you make your goal a little bit less than you could, a little bit less than your highest level, and do it all 10 days and build the momentum and get excited and up it later than it is to fall short, because it kind of messes with our momentum. But we got that covered. The third thing I said was through your companions, through your friends. I want you guys to think right now, write it down. Who are my 3 accountability buddies? We'll do 2. If you want to go ambitious, go for 3. What I want you to think about is who am I going to share my goals with? And we're going to check in with each other. If you're married and that's your spouse, go for it and then find a friend. Because sometimes your friend lets you relax, sometimes your wife lets you relax, or your husband lets you relax. Find 2 people that you're going to share your goal with, and you're going to tell them, I need you to check in with me every day, every 3 days, every 10 days. I need you to call me out and support me. Support me, not just call me out. I'm going to give you a minute. Write down 2 names, at least 2 names. I'm sorry? Yes, he has a problem with, okay? Yes. He's after the cookie. Okay. Okay. I'm not going to push you to do anything you're uncomfortable with. If you know yourself better, if you feel like it's enough to write it down for yourself, create a scorecard and check it off, by all means do. Yes, but what? Sure, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. Yeah. This whole, I'm sorry? Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yeah, for sure. So what I'll say is, and it's a very good question. He had asked, he said, all of the things we're talking about right now are to increase our ibadah, increase our good deeds. But how do we think about the sins we have in our life? I'll do 2 responses. One, I won't ask you to share your sins, but absolutely you can put that as your goal, especially in the place where you have the three things. So for instance, if your goal was, integrity, and you feel like you struggle with that, then say, I'm going to lie 3 times less, but I would never ask you to share. So that absolutely, you can still do all of these things. You can do smart, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based on moving those things in your life. The second thing I'll say is something that Sheikh Ali Basuni said in the khutbah. For every good thing you do, you get 10 hasanat. And in Ramadan, it's 700 times that. For every sin you do, you get 1 gunnah. I'm not saying, of course, do the gunnahs you want. Of course, I'm not saying that. But the math, inshallah, if we double up and triple up on our hasanat, 1, the gunnahs will naturally fall out, inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. But the math helps us that the more good we can do, inshallah, the less sin we have. And things like prayer, for instance, they wash your sins. So it always has a balancing effect on there as well. I hope that helps. Yeah, please. Yeah, another very good question. He said, whenever you do a good deed, you feel good about yourself, and it's an act of takabbur or ta'ajjub. Like, yeah, I'm an awesome person. How do you remove that from your life? What I'll say is 2 things. Again, I always have 2 responses. 1, be easy on yourself. When I usually give this talk, I talk about Hadith Jibreel. If you know the Hadith, it's about Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. And it's beautiful because it talks about stages, but Ihsan is reaching that highest level. I'll tell you this. Was the Prophet ﷺ the same person he was when he was on Ghar Hira, the first day that he was at the end of his revelation? Was he the same person? Or did he grow and mature and understand the deen? The Prophet ﷺ himself went through a growth process. If you expect yourself to reach that highest standard on day one, you will fail. So be easy on yourself. Say, today my goal is to just build a habit. I'm not saying embrace the takabbur tahajjud, but be like, today I'm building the habit. And this is another example for children. The Prophet ﷺ told us, get your children to start praying at the age of 7. And if they don't pray by age 10, you can take some consequences. Does a 7-year-old know why they're praying? Does a 7-year-old care? No, because building the habit is half the challenge. Then the other half is, okay, I'm gonna work on my niyyah. I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna remove the takabbur. But don't stop a good deed because it's tainted with something bad. That's what shaitan wants you to do. He wants to stop you from building the habit. If your goal right now is, I have filthy niyyah, my niyyah is not that good, I'm always struggling, but at least I will finish this Ramadan by having this habit, inshallah, that's good enough. Next Ramadan, you'll say, I built the habit, now it's time for purifying it. Now it's time for sure. Now it's time for whatever extra we're going to do with it. What I want to, we're done, right? We're done. Okay. What I will just say is the last part of that mission statement. I want you to do two things. One thing, I'll say one thing. I have a tracker that allows for you to put all of your goals on a piece of paper, and it has marks on it. I did the goal 1 day, I did the goal 2nd day, I did the goal 3rd day, I did the goal 4th day. If you want that tracker, let me know, I'll share it. I'm gonna give you my email address quickly. It is zbzafar@gmail.com. zbzafar@gmail.com. You print it out, you put it on your fridge, and you keep yourself accountable. The second thing I want you to think about tonight is, I know, you can see me after Salah too. The second thing is we talked about this last thing, we won't do it together, so that this is the impact you want to make. I want you to imagine if you could do all of these things that you planned for, what is the impact you can make? That last line is your motivation. It's saying to yourself when you get lazy or you're struggling, it's day 17 and you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired of Ramadan stuff for a lot, it's so hard. You remind yourself, gosh, if I was able to do this, I can help as many as people as possible connect with Allah. It is, I can make such a big difference in the community by serving them. It is, I can help hundreds of refugees, Muslim refugees, find a new home. What is the impact you hope to make? When you become tired or lazy or discouraged, and you remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you values, and out of those values, you can make immense impact, inshallah, it'll get you right back on the track. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows for us to benefit from what we said is what was heard. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows for us to achieve over our goals. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us all three: epiphanies, companionship that helps us grow, and consistency in our actions.